love. Bye-bye. So welcome, everybody. Today is Tuesday, January the 12th. We're into 2021 and holding a space for the healing of all of the craziness that is happening in our world. As we bring sane minds, we bring minds connected to love. And sane mind is not a mind that thinks my way or your way or somebody else's way. It's just a mind that has the presence of love in it as it operates. And bring healing to all the pain, the suffering, just the general trauma that's happening in our world. It's definitely time for healing. And Miss Susan, how are you today? Are you still with us, Susan, or Ellen?
I heard Dr. Tim unmute my phone. If he didn't leave them unmuted, then they're still mute. However, if you go into my computer, I can walk you through how to turn them back. Oh, okay. Right beside their name, if you click on the far left icon, it will turn them back on. If the middle one is lit up, yeah, that'll turn them back on. And then when you click the middle one, it turns them back off.
Well, I just switched on Susan and Ellen. If you all have, well, hey there, young lady. How are you?
Okay. How are you, Michael? Hi, Jeannie.
Good. I'm glad to hear Jeannie is on her phone at the dentist office. And so this is my first time sitting in front of the switchboard, so I just learned something new. But I'm glad you're here to talk to me so I don't have to do this by myself.
Oh, sure. I'm happy to talk. Yeah. Jeannie?
And Michael, if next to somebody's name, if a little question mark pops up, that means they've raised their hand.
Cool. Okay.
So.
Well, Michael's learning the ropes.
I am.
Yeah. And pray for this situation. I hated bringing Dad. I said, they talk about social distancing, and being at the dentist office is about as close as you can get into someone's space, not to mention in their face, in their mouth. But Dad had an abscessed tooth that needed to be extracted, so didn't have a whole lot of option there.
Right.
And we'll ask before we get into conversation for a space of love and support for part of our family. Ryan, Jeannie's son, manages up a Ryce store, and one of his employees last week came down with COVID. And we just got the news this morning that Ryan has COVID, and his wife, Gabby, is also congested, so her test has not come back. And Ari Rain has had a little bit of congestion, although she seems to have gotten rid of it. So if everybody just join in holding a space for them and everybody in our country and our world that's going through this trauma right now, that projection of active present love would be an appreciated gift for everyone in that circumstance and everyone in our world. So what's on your mind, young lady?
Oh, well, Ellen and I, Ellen, are you still on? Ellen,
yes,
a friend
I am.
Of mine hey, Ellen, I should introduce you. Maybe you've been introduced. This is Ellen, who comes to our Zoom group, and Michael, I think you did actually hear or see her on one of our Zoom groups a while back. Anyway, she's been calling in.
Awesome.
So I think we pretty much finished the discussion with Dr. Tim, right, Ellen? You're ready to go with a MindShifter and a worksheet maybe, and we could work on them tomorrow if you want.
Oh, yeah, that might be helpful. If anyone else has a similar type of issue, especially.
It doesn't matter, because getting the MindShifter demonstrated, no matter what the issue, everybody will plug in their own stuff, and we can actually give out some MindShifters. That would be a great idea. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know there was a list of them on the website, so that was good to know.
I'm actually working on a book. One of my projects is working on a book called MindShifters, Keys to the Unconscious. And when I had a private practice over a period of years, everybody, when we finished our private session would get a MindShifter, and I have a record of all of those, and that will be part of the publication, MindShifters, Keys to the Unconscious, if and when I ever get to that publication. So if you have any other questions in that regard, we're delighted to be here to support and answer those questions if we have information that can be helpful.
Ellen, do you want to ask about?
I just want to ask where that list is on the website. I'm on the website right now. You could tell me
if
where
you go to the upper left-hand corner of the home page, you'll see a link that says Start Here.
Yes.
If you click that link, it should take you to one of the links below that will be worksheets to download, and I think that's where you'll find it. Jeannie runs the website and usually answers those questions. But
oh, okay. So I was looking for the list of MindShifters that Dr. Tim was talking about. There was one that something
that's where
like
you'll find it.
always. Oh, okay. Under where the worksheets are. Okay.
Yes, it's one of the worksheets.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see it. MindShifters list. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sweet. And what we usually do, that list was developed to use in workshops where we're doing or heading into a process we teach called still point breathing. And what we usually do is, rather than using your head to figure out which mind shifter you should be doing, quote unquote, should be doing, what we suggest you do is pick a number from 1 to 3 and then a number from 1 to 13. So you've got two numbers on a page in front of you. And then as you look at that sheet, you'll see that there are 3 sections, and each one of them has 13 mind shifters. So your number from 1 to 3, let's say you take your first number that pops in your head is 2, and 13, then you'd go to the second section and mind shifter 13. And that's the one we'd suggest you work with. And that's a system I've been using for decades to work with people with mind shifters, and it always takes people right to the core of what's going on and what they need to work with.
Yes, actually, Susan did that with our group the one week, and the mind shifter that I got was absolutely perfect for not only what was going on in my childhood, but was going on today. I thought, wow, that's perfect.
Before I ask people to pick those numbers, I always ask, okay, that each person be guided to the right number so they go to just what they need to do. And it's actually when we do it in an intensive before we do still point breathing, and it's always hilarious because, people know each other fairly well, and, somebody just finished a sentence 10 minutes ago of something they were processing, and then they put their numbers out, and there's the mind shifter that just continues the sentence. So it tends to be kind of hilarious when we do that in an intensive.
Yeah, I know. I laughed when I got mine. It's like, wow, perfect.
Yeah, pretty powerful. Well, any other questions in regard to that, or anything else you're working with, Ellen? Or our whole purpose is to be here to support you. So.
Well, I guess when we did that in Susan's group, and I took the time to write out all of my reasons why this was not a good thing. Or a true thing. I wrote a lot of stuff, but then I wasn't sure what to do with it.
So what you do, now that you're conscious, and oftentimes when you go back and look at the right side of the page, you'll see things that you weren't even aware that you wrote. And as you look at that and become conscious, the idea is to make the unconscious conscious, so that when it is uncovered, it loses the power to control you from a hidden level of the mind. And so you look down the list and you see where there are things that need to be dealt with. The example I usually use in an intensive is, imagine we've got a young man who's having struggles in his relationships and struggles with money. And so we have him write a mind shifter of, I always earn twice as much as I can spend. And he starts writing, and he says, well, that's silly. On the right side of the page, that's just ridiculous. I've never been able to pay my bills. And he runs out of things to write, so he goes back to the left side of the page. I always earn twice as much as I can spend. Well, that's absolutely ridiculous. They just repossessed my car. This is a crazy thought. Back to the left side of the page, I always earn twice as much as I can spend. Well, this is just so stupid. I've lived all my life and always been chasing a buck and always trying to keep up, and my family was always like that. I can remember my parents always fighting over money. In fact, I remember the day that my father left home and I never saw him again. He and my mother just had a big fight over money, and bingo, there's his relationship money challenge. There's the unconscious part of his mind that needs to be brought forward. So seeing that, then you'd look back at what comes up on the right side of the page and look at what tools. We've got a whole series of tools. So that might be a situation for a worksheet. It might be a situation to bring out the commitment. It might be a situation where it's appropriate with the person involved to sit down and do a love exchange. It might be a situation where it's appropriate to take out the codependence worksheet and work on that tool. So each of the tools that we've got, you start looking at what comes up and becoming more acquainted with what's in your unconscious, and you use the tools that you have to work through those things. So that's the idea of once you've dumped it out, once you've done a mind dump on the right side of the page, so now you know what there is to work on. Now you've uncovered what, if you go back into the ancient Aramaic, they said, take care of the heart, for out of it are the issues in life. Now that word heart in our modern language would be the unconscious. So what they were saying is take care of the unconscious. So this is, of course, to take care of it, to clean it up, you've got to get into it. So this is a tool for getting into the heart or the unconscious, and then using the tools to clean up what you find there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I realized that when I was doing the dump on it, I wasn't using the correct format, and I was just going. I didn't put like a line down the page, and I was just writing the full pages of what I thought was wrong with it.
As long as you're dumping it, it really doesn't matter. As long as you're letting it
but
move whatever's there.
I wasn't going back and repeating it, and then because I was like, well, I guess that's it, like I wrote it, and then I didn't even really go back and I don't think read it all. I just thought it was the dumping process, maybe that was the point of it, and so I wasn't clear on it. Okay.
Yeah, that dumping it is the first step. The next step is now that I've uncovered things that I've been keeping hidden from myself, what am I going to do about it? What tools do I have to use to clean this up in me? And oftentimes people only have to write the MindShifter once and they'll write 20 pages. And oftentimes they might have to write the MindShifter 10 times before anything comes out. It's as variable as there are people. But the idea then is once you become cognizant of it, is now I'm going to take care of my unconscious, take care of my heart, so that those things that are hidden in me do not drive my perception from under the surface. There's an interesting 4 letters in the Aramaic language, or at least English translation, and that is a suffix that's added to a word, O-O-T-A. And when they add O-O-T-A to a word in Aramaic, that means that this is something from the unconscious that is altering perception, decisions, and behaviors. So, an unconscious bias has me thinking the truth is this, when what's happened is something from my unconscious is shooting up some silly information. I believe it because, well, there it is, so it must be true, but the truth is it's altered my perception. It's changing my decisions. It's changing my behavior. And when I allow myself to go to that level of my mind and bring that forward consciously, purposely, and de-energize it, then it no longer functions to alter my perception, decisions, and behavior. Although I may have more than one layer to work through with that, basically it's working through those layers, and this is a tool for opening up that hidden part of the mind.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I noticed that when I would do a worksheet, I would do it on something very specific, but then I would start noticing so many connections to it.
Right.
And realizing that, okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, that this is not something that's isolated.
Right. Well, we call that a Hydra worksheet. And if you remember in Greek mythology, the Hydra was the creature that if you took a sword and sliced off her head, several other heads appeared. So when you start doing what seems to be the issue, it's never the issue. I mean, my mind, if I knew what the issue was, I would have resolved it already. What my mind is telling me is the issue is never the issue. And so when I do the forgiveness work around what appears to be the issue, then I get to look at the next level, the next layer, the next piece, and I start to find this whole complex web of mind energy and thought disorders that never show themselves unless I purposely, consciously pursue them, which is what the MindShifter is about. And all the while they're changing, again, my perception, decisions, and behaviors. It's interesting, in the Aramaic language, they gave Freud a Nobel Prize for discovering the unconscious. He no more discovered the unconscious than fly in the air. He rediscovered it in our modern time, but the Aramaic language, right down to the syntax of the language, is all reflective of a full understanding of the unconscious. But it has been lost. It doesn't serve...
Well, sure, and I can see why. If it's unconscious, it seems to be lost.
Who wants to deal with that? But what people don't realize is if they keep something hidden at that unconscious level, sooner or later, something's going to trigger it into activity. And while they won't allow it to come to conscious awareness, it runs their lives. It literally becomes the root of the perception that is generated by the mind. And it leads us to do crazy things. And we're here to support cleaning up those crazy things.
Yes, it controls us. I
Absolutely.
see that.
Absolutely.
And instead of thinking that, I should be in some way different, you begin to realize, it doesn't have anything to do with who I am. It's what's hidden down there, like in there, that's controlling me.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. It's really no part of me at all.
Yeah. You hear Yeshua saying, the eye is the lamp of the soul. If the light for you is darkness, how deep does your darkness become? Now, you listen to that and you go, well, wait a minute, how can light be darkness? This is silly. This is just like ridiculous. When you go to the Aramaic, here's what Yeshua is saying. He's saying perception, the eye, what you see, is meant to be a light or a guide to take you through the world. And then he says, if your light, your eye, perception is darkened, that is hostility or fear enters, then what kind of crazy things will you do to destroy yourself? People who act out of hostility and fear, in Aramaic darkness, destroy their own lives. Destroy everything they cherish, everything they desire, everything they want. And so this is about cleaning up what comes forward, because when hostility or fear are the fuel for our perceptual constructs, we're now, by definition, working against ourselves. And so this is about allowing yourself, because what you never will bring forward is what sooner or later will attack and destroy you, because it will become the light, the guide, the thing that drives your behavior. And then, people say, why is this happening to me again? Well, see what they did? Yeah, but did you notice what you did that facilitated it? Have you noticed how many times you did that just before they did that? It's a game that we play. It's an unconscious game, and as you bring forward the unconscious and clean up its hydras, its many tentacles, life becomes more and more of a consciously creative process rather than being pushed around by the vicissitudes of life. So any other thoughts for you?
Yeah.
Anything else we can support you with?
Not right now. I don't think so. I have a bunch of worksheets to do. That's very clear.
All right. Well, any
sure
questions, we're here to support you.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
All right. Blessings.
Blessings.
So, Miss Susan.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Well, Tim and I had our COVID shots yesterday, and I've been tired and have a headache today, but it's not been so bad.
Good.
And
well,
then we get the next one in. Yeah?
You get the next one?
The next one is in a month, and that's supposed to be trickier. It's the booster.
Right. Well, Holy Space
I know.
is perfectly fitting for you and works 100% and keeps you totally safe.
Thank you. They say even after the first one, your chances of getting COVID are much, much reduced. You should still be careful, of course, but it's amazing that they've been able to do that in such a short time.
Definitely. Some of the new technology is pretty amazing.
So I had a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is the work we did a couple of weeks ago on my mother and stuff. I have had weird physical symptoms, and I'm wondering if these are symptoms of healing. They have to do with my bones. I do have osteopenia, and probably worse now, I don't know. I've had a very sore right knee. I take 2 long walks a day, and I teach my Pilates, but I'm really not doing anything different than before. But at night when I go to bed, there's this aching in this knee, and they recommend ibuprofen. I took it once, and it really didn't even help, and I don't like taking pills anyway.
Right.
So I wondered if you had any thoughts about that. I looked in Louise Hay, and of course a stiff knee means rigidity and stiffness and maybe anger and so forth.
Not having your needs met.
I feel as if I have needs, but I guess, I mean, besides food and keeping warm enough and water and, you know, doing the Michael Ryce show.
Yeah, if you're going back and processing old issues around times when you weren't having your needs met, then the energy moving in that tissue will tend to show up. And as you drive oxygen nutrition deeper into the cell is going to throw off those energetic patterns that never belonged, and they're going to tend to express the symptoms, the symptoms of healing on a physical level.
You just made me remember something. When I was in 7th grade, I had a teacher that I adored, a young woman, and as I've told you before, I had crushes on my female teachers for years.
Right.
And I pretended I had a trick knee. I read about trick knees. There's something with the joint. And it was even the same knee. Oh, this is so weird, Michael.
No, it's not weird. It's just as night follows day.
Yeah, doesn't it? I took a fall on purpose in front of her to get her attention, and she read right through that. And she didn't look at me. She kept shuffling papers on her desk. This was after school. I stayed after school. It was totally staged. I headed for the door and fell dramatically, and all my books going everywhere. And she didn't look at me. She said, "Are you okay?" With no feeling, in fact, a slight tinge of emotion. She smelled a huge rat. And I gathered up my books and I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And that was the end of that. That is so weird, Michael.
So you're going to let go of that one?
Yep.
That will probably take care of your body having to process the pain of that experience, whether, you physically injured the knee in this fall and the energy's locked in. That will probably soften and open the space for that to happen, and as well open the space for, as you drive oxygen nutrition into those cells, for calcium to enter and get into the bone where it's needed. And so much for osteopenia.
Really?
Really?
Say more about that. Can you say more about that? How do you get it in there? You just know things. You do the forgiveness work and it happens, right? I don't have to breathe into my kneecap or something.
Well, it sounds like your intuition just told you one of the things to do is to breathe into your kneecap. Yes. In still point breathing, we often instruct people to do a thing that I've termed body breathing, and that is where there is a particular trauma, you imagine actually breathing in through that part of the structure, focusing your energy, focusing your attention, focusing your awareness, and imagine you're actually breathing through that tissue to bring it into the structure.
Wow.
And what it will tend to do is normalize all energy flow and energy balance in that part of the structure.
Well, that's great.
And if there's something there that blocks proper calcium absorption and you process it, then it will open to absorb calcium as it's designed to. You know, the original energy pattern, you know, when you think about it, you know, in utero, you didn't have a knee. You know, when you were conceived, there was no knee there. Or was there? My offering is there absolutely was a knee there. There were two of them. And the image, the frequency in the single cell at conception, unless disturbed, produced a perfect knee. If along about the age of 7, I decided that I wanted to get somebody's attention because I was feeling that I wasn't getting attention, and then I let myself fall, and I ended up hitting or hurting that knee, putting the mind energy of injury there, and I need attention. Oh, my God, I didn't get attention. Oh, what's wrong with me? Whatever all the mind energy is, that becomes an overlay on the image that tells the knee when it's going to reproduce its next series of cells. You know, bone cells are, I don't know, they say up to a year to replace themselves. So when a bone cell is ready to be replaced, it's replaced. It is structured according to that picture that was held in the single cell and is still held that tells a knee cell how to be a knee cell. But if there's an interference pattern in it, then the new quote-unquote physical knee cell will be deformed according to that desecration of the tissue. So here I am, 70 years later, and I decide to go in and remove that desecrating energy, that disintegrative energy, that in Aramaic, which was called sin. I decide to remove that, and the perfect image tells the next round of cells that are going to develop how to build themselves as perfect knee cells, and perfect knee cells happen.
Whoa. And you can do that with your whole body? With all your bones and everything? Because I've been,
every
of course,
cell, every sinew, every molecule, yes.
Wow.
That's the skill level we're inviting people to do with these tools.
So amazing. There's a lot of mind energy against small white women. They are told that they are going to have bad bones. They're going to have osteoporosis. Even that thought.
Well, that's good for business, you know. There's a lot of money in that.
Whoa. Okay, well.
So I'd support you doing some worksheets on every time somebody told you that, and you get very clear that being a small, compact, powerful woman, that every cell in your structure, when it's time to regenerate, regenerates as a perfect, healthy, powerful, small woman cell. And cut this bull roar that there's supposed to be something wrong with you. Because if you accept, you know, this is the state of hypnosis. Remember the Greeks, you've heard me say many times, one piece I admired the Greeks gave us, guard the portals of the mind. Because when you stand in front, you know, oftentimes, you know, if you look at the word diagnosis, you break that one down, diagnostic. An agnostic is someone who doesn't know, and a dyad is two who don't know. And if I stand in front of somebody with a white coat that looks official and an authority that knows everything, I open my energy field just like I did in front of my power person, and I suck in everything they've got to say. And if they say, oh, well, that's supposed to go bad like this, It's overlaid on that perfect image, and guess what? The next round of cells that come out of that tissue are going to go bad just like that. Not because they were ever going to, but because an instruction set was put in them to tell them to do that.
Wow. Wow.
Forgiveness is about removing all of those instruction sets that leave us stuck. You know, we're in a state of becoming. You've heard me talking about recently with Aria Rain and realizing, you know, when I look at pictures of her as a newborn just 27 months ago, and then I look at that sweet developing face today, and it's clear that she is a piece of plastic. You know, we get adult bodies and it looks, you know, fairly finished and complete, but the truth is it's totally and completely plastic. It is continuously in a state of becoming. If we don't ever get conscious of our creative process, then instead of becoming according to our creative process, we'll be going by whatever the popular authority in the world says. People sit in front of the TV and they suck, you know, disease image after disease image after disease image in those drug commercials. I think they're criminal, and everybody who's engaged in putting those things in front of people and creating disease after disease after disease needs to be charged with criminal activity because they know what they're doing.
Wow. You think they really
And you'll
do,
notice
Michael?
as they read, there was one commercial, and, you know, Dad watches TV all the time. And there was one commercial on the other night that I was sitting down there watching. I don't even remember what drug it was for. But the list of symptoms, the list of so-called side effects, the list of diseases caused by this drug was just horrendous. And it was just so beautifully sculpted, because as they started into how this is going to, and that's going to, then this is going to, and that's going to, and that's going to, and that's going to, and this could, and that could, and that could. Every scene, they went from scene to scene to scene. They went to, you know, it was an ad for something for an older person. They went to this scene of this older couple who are sweetly together looking in each other's eyes. And then, you know, the man in the picture all of a sudden is holding a little grandchild, a little baby, and being happy. And they're giving them all these horrendous, horrible images and accompanying it with this brainwash of sweetness and light. Oh, the child and the happy music and the wonderful things that happen. This is purposeful brainwashing that is totally and completely criminal in our culture. And we just need to become conscious and, you know, recognize that the fact that we're in a state of becoming, that we need to keep becoming according to our connectedness with love, rather than going by what any authority in the culture tells us. That's true liberty. Make sense?
Yeah, I'm speechless. You should cut out that little section, that rant you went on, the whole thing, starting with the bones. And don't cut it out and throw it away. Cut it out and keep it as a healing.
Post it separately.
Yeah, a healing instruction.
Every cell is in a continuous state of becoming. Something directs the becoming. And, you know, you'll remember I've talked about Marcel Vogel, 23-year senior scientist from IBM, and I used to keynote at a conference called Global Sciences. And one year Marcel Vogel brings this Delaware camera, and with the Delaware camera he's able to take a picture of the high energy waves that leave the mind when we think a thought. Well, those high-energy waves that leave the mind when we think a thought are also radiating into our very cellular structure. And one of the things that, or the other things that he showed us were pictures. For instance, one of the pictures was of an acorn. So, you know, he's got a picture. Here's what we use the Delaware camera to take a picture of, and you've got an acorn. And then, with the Delaware camera, you see the fully developed oak tree. And people say, well, wait a minute, that's ridiculous. Now, come on. There's no oak tree. Well, excuse me. What else do you suppose is in there? I mean, has anybody ever planted an acorn and gotten corn? Has anybody ever planted an acorn and gotten a Volkswagen? Or a new house? Or a blade of grass? No. The only thing you get out of an acorn, it takes all the building blocks that nature gave it. It takes the moisture, the water, the H2O. It takes the minerals from the earth. It takes the sunshine, and it transmutes all of that, and it makes an oak tree because that's the image that's in there. If you distort that image, then the oak tree is going to become distorted. If you take something out of its environment that's needed, that oak tree is not going to be properly formed as an oak tree. If you put something in that doesn't belong, that oak tree is not going to develop properly. And when the Greeks said guard the portals of the mind, they were saying, be careful what influences you allow to, especially become emotionally significant to you, because they will be stored somewhere in your structure. And if they distort the image that's designed to generate the next level of cells, whether it's your heart cells or your liver cells or your lung cells or the cells in your big toe, if they distort that, then the becoming of those cells is going to be distorted. Forgiveness is about removing those distortions, those things that never belonged in the structure. That's what we're doing with forgiveness. So hate and fear and anger and sadness and grief and rage and trauma never belong in the human structure, and each of them is a disease. Wherever they are stored in the structure, because the mind functions through every cell in the structure, wherever they're stored, those cells will become distorted. Somebody will look at this distorted cell and say, oh my God, you've got the ABC disease. Yeah. No, you don't have the ABC disease. You have a distortion from what was overlaid on the image that told those cells how to become what they were to become. Remove that energetic interference, and the cells come back to perfect health and harmony. That's our natural state. The most powerful inclination in each of us is to move toward what was in us at creation as a perfect image, and the replication of that perfect image in form. Remove the distortion, and the perfect image returns to regenerate every cell perfectly. And my offering that includes death is nothing more than buying into an image that says to the cells, okay, you're getting to the age where you're supposed to stop replicating and start dying. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a lie. Time for us to let go of the lie.
Huge.
Mm-hmm. Huge is the word.
Well, Michael, I discovered a cache, as I told you, of my mother's letters to me that I had never read. I mean, I read them when they came. And I stashed them in a folder. And I haven't wanted to read them. So I had a little assignment that I would read 1 or 2 a day. And I'm doing that. And what I'm finding is that my idea of who my mother was and what she felt about me was so far from the truth that I've been making myself sick ever since those whippings, which stopped, but I didn't stop the whippings in my mind.
They kept going on inside. Kept going. Yep, I hear you.
And so I've discovered that. And I told you, Tim Bingham said, when you discover your rage against your mother and really feel it, you'll start healing. And I have fought with him about that. I said, why would I hate my mother? She did the best she could. She couldn't help it, blah, blah, blah. Well, I haven't felt red in the face, fist-pounding rage. But what I did was I never, ever let her into my heart, even though I treated her lovingly and I watched out for her and did stuff for her, and we had fun, but I never confided in her ever. And when my baby daughter was born and she came to visit, that's where it came to my consciousness. I didn't want her to touch my baby because I was afraid she would hurt her. And, of course, I let her hold her, but after 2 days of my mom living with us, trying to help, I said, Mom, I just really need to be alone with this baby. I had so many feelings about this new baby. I wanted to cry over her, and I just couldn't do anything because my mother was there. So I sent her off, and she told me she felt so blue. That's the word she used. I felt so blue when I left. I wanted to help, and I hadn't let her, and I'm only now letting her. It's taken this long.
Breathing with you. Yeah, I hear you.
And so I've been paying her back all this time.
Well, isn't it nice that now you can pay her forward?
Yeah, I've been talking to her, and I've been reading these. I mean, one time I wrote a piece, and it was performed beautifully in New Haven. She came to see it, and she wrote me 4 pages of how much she loved it, and in detail of how she remembered this, that, and the other. And interspersed with those comments were, that aria was so sad to me. Was this personal to you? She wanted to talk to me about my life. I don't think I ever answered her. Anyway, it just goes on. I'm just, my mind is blown. So, you know, and then I get the sore knee. So I figured it's connected. So it seems to be. Yeah.
Needs.
Oh. Knee.
Needs. Yep.
Well, thanks. I don't need to take any more time. Just to tell you that the work you did is bearing fruit, and more fruit.
Well, you know, there are, from what you're saying, 1,000 generations that are going to thank you so deeply for this work, beyond your comprehension, in your family system, in your generations, and then opening the energy window for every mother-daughter that has ever had a similar dynamic, and there have been plenty.
I hope so. It shouldn't go on.
That's for sure. And notice how it's bearing fruit in every area of your life. You know, the shift and the improvement in your relationship with your daughter. How cool is that?
It is so cool. And when I read my mother's letters, I realize I am doing that for my daughter. When she gives a sermon, I'm in touch with her, and we go over it. And she does these daily meditations to keep in touch with her parishioners. Little tiny 5-minute, a sentence out of the scripture and a teeny-weeny homily. And they are together in a way that she says many churches are struggling. The priests can't be in touch with their parishioners, so they're not. Right. And then the parishioners are disenfranchised and angry. And she said this has been the thing, this little YouTube every morning at 5:45 in the morning. It pops in, and she has about 500 listeners, or maybe
That's
more
awesome.
now. I don't know. Yeah. So, but I tell her,
sweet.
I've been lavishing, and I realized my mom modeled that for me, and it was all not. I wasn't aware of it. But I'm doing what she did. Anyway, thanks for listening, Michael.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's not just about me listening. It's about everybody that's here, that's holding their breath right now and processing and dealing with what went on with their mothers and their fathers. You know, to me, that's the beauty of our community, that we can be in this space and open those places. You know, even if we think we've healed the issues around mom and dad, to just hear it on this level and to open that space is such a gift. Such a profound gift. So, thank you for the willingness to do the work and be the model here.
Those 3 worksheets early in the morning, it's a great practice. My people on my Zoom, I told them that I'm doing 3 in the morning every morning. They say, how do you know what to work on? And I said, well, I do keep a little list, and I don't have any high emotion. Usually when I'm sitting there, I'm very happy with my hot lemon water and the Avicen. Nobody's up. But I look at my list and write down, and boom, you're in. I said, these things, you have a big list. Just make yourself aware of it, and you'll have plenty of topics. Never worry. So
Jeannie
I
actually
hope to
has
get them
put
to
it,
do that.
right. Jeannie has put a section on the website for people who have no worksheets to do. And once people look at that, they realize they've got worksheets to do, and you know how denial comes in and blocks awareness of it.
Right.
So
I know.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Well,
Michael.
nice piece
Thank
of
you,
work,
thank
young
you,
lady.
Thank you.
Honored and delighted. Thank you for welcoming us on your team and being willing to share what you share. Just opening those spaces for
Thanks.
people. And ultimately looking to get to every mind, heart, and being on the planet.
Right. You did a huge, a lot of work putting together your outline of the new intensive, by the way, on WhatsApp. Just so many things you had to think about and put down. It's a lot.
Yeah, I want to do is complete a picture of, you know, what we're efforting to make available to intensive participants, and the support, you know, looking to be as deep a support as possible. So we put as many components together as we can. I'm certainly appreciative of the fact that we have this show that people can tap into every day and have the questions answered, and then all the components, you know, the work that Urate did on the food program is just awesome, and
right.
you know, we can offer that to people. It's just, we're blessed. We're blessed. The technology is just really amazing and awesome.
Right.
All things moving forward.
Good.
All right. Well, anything else on your mind?
No, that's it, Michael. Thank you.
All right. You have a blessed day. Give Tim, that young man, a hug for us. Tell him that we hold him in the space, and we'll look forward to the next time we get to chat.
I will.
All right. Blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And I'd like to just, you know, give a shout out to anyone in the culture, anyone in the world that's suffering under this whole political circumstance that's happening, the attack on our country, terrorism that's going on, the terrorist attack that took place in Washington, the fear I've been hearing from several people about their calls for armed insurrections in every state of the union and before the inauguration, and just all kinds of just crazy things. And anyone who's got any kind of connection with COVID is either suffering from or has a family or family member or friend that has COVID going on. We're just here to hold the space and support us as a community working through all of those issues, being freed of the hostility, the fear, the sadness, the rage, guilt, the grief and the pain that's going on in the culture. It's certainly pretty monumental. And so we're here to hold a space of support for all of that to be cleaned up within each and every one of us. Yesterday I wasn't near where my book was, so I couldn't read us any of the next section of the book, but I'd like to take a minute or two to just go through the first section of the author's notes in the book. So this is Roman numeral 16, if you happen to have the book. Author's notes. This body of work presents tools which can be used to manage your mind, body, relationships, and life. The first decades of my life, I lived without them. Approximately, and this book was written 20 years ago, so approximately 25 years ago, I wrote it when I was 4, by the way, as a result of the need to heal myself, I searched for tools with which I could unload the burdens I'd accumulated. This book is one of the results of that search. This work is not a product of any curriculum. It is written from my own experience and is offered with sincere humility. I know of no book from which inner work can be learned, though thousands of books have been written about it. Acquiring this knowledge is a process. None of what appears in these pages is original, save the synthesis of the material and some of the conclusions for which I take full responsibility and invite your input. Nothing herein should be construed as medical advice, as each idea is intended for support of the reader's spiritual process in self-healing. Using these tools calls for a different mindset than the all-too-common victim or hero attitude and requires time, work, and willingness. The tools work. The rewards are extraordinary. Take time to build a foundation and understand the philosophy of this work, and you will create a toolbox which makes these tools for life usable. Your life is about to change. This book covers both the introductory course material and the advanced material, designed for those more involved. This material flows from a course of study which now takes a minimum of 9 days to complete at our teaching center. In my short 2.5-hour workshops, I invite people to listen fast. The amount of material covered in this book is enormous, and rarely would it be possible to comprehend all in one reading. To you, the reader, I suggest digest slowly and be patient. 10 years from now, on the 20th or the 90th reading, due to the nature of this work, this book will say many new things to you. I suggest you read as much of the text as makes sense to you and do the worksheet process. If you lose the train of thought or confusion surfaces, go back and do the worksheet. This book is not meant to be grasped in one reading. Many people find that a combination of written course material and audio or videotapes helps them to grasp this information more quickly. I realize this may sound a little bit like a commercial, but I've found that exposing people to this work through as many different senses as possible helps them to integrate it and put the tools to use more quickly. When you see this workshop on video and hear it on cassette tape, of course that was another time cassette tape, it is almost as though it produces a three-dimensional or cellular comprehension. It's a difficult effect to explain and even more difficult to achieve through a linear presentation, such as what happens with written material. The goal of this text is to create a theoretical framework from which to view your life differently. Above all, I wish to stress the simplicity of the process you're about to engage in. Though it may appear complex at first, truth is complex to a complex mind and simple to a simplified mind. I understand that scientific convention and the rational mind require that I cite references for each new statement. I've chosen to bypass convention. I will make many statements that are based solely on my observations after 25 years of doing this work. I invite you to disbelieve everything I say and test it for yourself. Verification will come from the fact that you will find that the tools work. I invite correction and feedback on this material and present what I consider to be useful observations, even though they do not fit convention. I'm in agreement with Albert Einstein, who said, "One thing I've learned in a long life, that all of our science, when measured against actuality, is primitive and childlike." Here's Einstein. All of our science, E equals mc squared. Primitive and childlike, he says. When we wake up, we'll find that our comprehension can come from direct interaction with what the creation holds and what we're actually designed for. And so we invite you to take these tools and put them to work in your life. And as you put them to work in your life, they will teach you themselves. You know, truth, people have asked me the definition of truth. And for me, truth is what is. And when you get out of your perceptual mind, literally, in order to heal, you've got to be out of your mind. When you get out of your perceptual mind, then truth moves directly. Literally, when you open and allow the energy system of what the Creator has created to enter, you will have the opportunity to integrate and be reorganized by what comes forward. And I see that we've got area code 517 with a hand up, so let's say hello to 517. You're on the air, 517. Give us a name. Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is John.
Well, hey there, young man. How are you doing?
Oh,
Haven't heard your voice in a while. You doing better? That's good to hear.
I'm doing better. From what I've heard today so far, first of all, the people that are riding and stuff, I'm trying to send them good spirits. That's the only thing I can do for them.
Yes, sir. I'm with you.
And if everybody sends them good spirits, then maybe it'll move their soul or their spirits to think the same. Is the way I look at it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Secondly, from my father's perspective, and I remember once I either said to Dr. Tim or I said to you that I worked on my father, but stuff just keeps coming up. And he says, well, it took you 30 years before you could work on your father. Why do you think if you write just once that it's going to take care of it all? So
right.
That's kind of
and how many millions of fathers are in your bloodline that need to be cleared up?
Yeah. So the next perspective is I didn't think my dad loved me, and therefore I disliked my dad. Well, I hated my dad for a long period of time until I got into doing some of this work. And
right.
then
We're down to 1 minute, John. We're down to 1 minute. Yep.
Oh, I didn't know it was that late. Well, I'm not going to get done in a minute.
Okay. Well, why don't you close your thought out, and maybe we can pick it up tomorrow.
Okay. And I've been sick, and my next question was, what am I doing to be sick? What did I do to have a stroke? So I guess we'll finish it there and pick it up tomorrow.
Okay. Let's do it, sir. Good questions to set the stage for tomorrow. In the meantime, we'll hold you in a blessing and look forward to hearing your voice, and I'll let Jeannie know you're going to call early.
Okay.
Okay, John. Blessings.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Many blessings.
Everybody create the best year yet of your eternal life.